Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Independent Presents, our year-round screening and Q&A series. I'm Brian Sheen, Senior Manager of Industry Relations with Film Independent. First, I'd like to thank a couple of our ardent supporters, our lead sponsor, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, our screening partner, Vision Media, and our media partner, the Los Angeles Times. Thank you for watching and now tuning into the Q&A for I Carry With Me from Sony Pictures Classics. Today, we have a special guest moderator in Zachary Quinto. And without further ado, I will let him take it from here. I said it wrong, didn't I?
No, that was amazing. Thank you so much. That's perfect. Hey there. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Just a little bit of background. I was sent a link to watch I Carry With Me through my agency. Oh my God. Sorry, now things are going off on my phone. It's all happening. All right. Hey there. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited to talk to Heidi and the actors about I Carry You With Me. Just a little background. I was sent a link to watch this movie through my agency. Sometimes they'll send me films and projects and just give me an opportunity to see what's coming down the pike and what they're excited about. And so I watched this movie without any context or any information about the style of it. I actually knew Heidi a little bit and certainly know her work as a documentary filmmaker. But I came to this with really fresh eyes. So I'd love to start just talking about Heidi. Hi. And congratulations, everybody. First of all, I just think this is such a moving and beautiful, fully realized film. I was so taken by it, and it stayed with me for quite some time after I watched it. And part of that was the surprise for me of the experience and this beautiful melding of documentary and narrative filmmaking. So Heidi, will you talk a little bit about your evolution as a filmmaker, your growth, and did you always know that you wanted this style to be your foray into narrative filmmaking? How did this process unfold for you?
I think so many beautiful things happen in life that are not planned at all. I never intended to make a narrative film. It was never sort of a goal of mine, like, well, after I make documentaries for a while, maybe I'll do a scripted movie. I know some filmmakers have that in mind, and that's wonderful. I just didn't have that kind of vision. Although now that I've made a narrative, I want to make a lot more, and I loved the experience. But I've always said that when people come to us with documentary projects, sometimes I say it really shouldn't be a documentary. It should be an article in the New Yorker. It should be a podcast. It should be a cocktail party conversation, but it should not be a film. So I'm really careful about what stories deserve a treatment on the screen, and what does a story need. In this case, my friends told me their life story, and I was so moved. I immediately, of course, was like, well, maybe this is a documentary. I know how to do that. And that's my dog. That's Rico. Hey. So when my friends told me their life story, I thought, well, this could be a documentary. And I realized pretty soon that actually I was filming the third act of a movie if I made a documentary, and that this movie, this story deserved an epic narrative treatment that only a scripted film can accomplish. So that's when I decided, well, I'm going to have to write a screenplay or just put this whole idea away forever. And that I couldn't leave it behind. And so that's how it became a narrative. And of course, I continued to film my friends Ivana and Gerardo in big points of their life. I didn't know if it was research or how it was going to be used, but I just couldn't tear myself away from continuing to film their real lives as things happened, happy and sad. And then in the end, I decided I needed to keep them in the film. I didn't want to hire older actors. I didn't want to age Armando and Christian to play them as older men. And that's how the meld came about. So really, it was kind of organic and over time.
It feels that way. I mean, it's for me, again, having come to it not knowing that what I was seeing unfold, right? It just felt like there's almost no other way to tell the story, and that to me is I think a hallmark of something that is incredibly successful. So then you wrote the screenplay, and without knowing necessarily that it would fold into the documentary footage that you had captured and were continuing to capture, you then went to film the screenplay that you wrote. So talk a little bit about that process, and talk, if you would, about finding Christian and Armando, and the experience you had actually bringing that part of the story to life.
Well, it was a tricky movie to pitch, because I had to explain. Well, and at some point, you're going to see the real men, and I didn't know if I was going to do it chronologically or interweave the documentary throughout the movie. And the editing process, was took a long time to figure out. You know what? Let's leave the documentary portion for the end, which I guess now seems obvious. But I was at one point, it was like Memento. Everything was backwards and upside down, and I was like, let's start over. But it was tricky to pitch because there was no comps. I couldn't explain, well, then I couldn't, reference a film that had done this exactly the way I wanted to do it. So people would read the screenplay, and then I would show them 10 minutes of material of the real guys so they could get an idea maybe of what we were dealing with. And, Sony Worldwide and Blackbird took this leap of faith. They were like, you know what, it sounds like she knows what she wants to do. Let's let her do it. I think they never quite understood. They were like, just go to Mexico and make your movie. Here's a little money. So, which was fine with me. So I didn't have a lot of oversight. I was like, I kind of snuck off to Mexico and hoped that no one would show up and ask me too many questions, which is kind of what happened, thank God. So I was lucky. But then I had to go find my Ivan and my Gerardo. And I found Armando Espitia, my Ivan, first. He did an audition on an iPhone in a hotel room somewhere, and I'd seen like 100 guys already, and I just knew this was my guy. Oh my God, this is him. He's soulful. He's Ivan. I knew. So we started chatting, and he told me a lot about his backstory, and he identified with the character in many different ways he can tell you about. And then we had to find his mate. And that was really hard. I couldn't find the right man. And I actually went to Mexico. We were in pre-production. I still had not cast Gerardo. Chemistry casting, I never thought of that before. I didn't, of course it makes sense. You can't just, there were incredible actors that read for the role, but every time I put them in the room with Armando, there was nothing, there was no heat. And I was like, I don't think I want to watch these two together. I don't believe that these two are in love, who could be in love. There's no, so I met with Christian in Mexico. He came to my apartment. We had a conversation. He had sort of auditioned for a different role. He came in, and we had I just had a good feeling about him. He was very precocious. He's capricious. He reminded me of the real Gerardo, his essence. He likes to joke around. He's got there was something about him that I thought this could be maybe a good counterpart. So when I put him in the same room as Armando, we just did improvisations and scenes that don't exist in the movie, and they did phone calls. And before you knew it, there was so much heat in the room. I almost was like, "Can I leave you guys alone?" I literally said, "Mejor que me voy de aquí." Remember? I was like, "Wow, I shouldn't be here. Like, this is hot." I don't know. And they never met. So I was like blushing. I was like, I think I would like to watch them in a movie. It was weird. So I really honestly felt like an intruder. And I'm like, that's really good. And that's what happened. And I think you can feel that on the screen. I don't think you can make that up. Maybe actors can make it up, but they didn't have to make it up.
Well, yeah, you really get a sense. And Armando and Christian, it's so nice to meet you, and would love to hear from you. One of the things for me that you capture so beautifully, and there's just such a sense of collaboration in this film for me, and a collaboration between the two of you, guided by Heidi in a way that there's such an intimacy and a tension and a kind of longing from an audience's perspective where, we want so much for your happiness and your togetherness, but we see so clearly the many impediments that you create for the characters create for themselves, and also that family and society create for them, and you really, it's beautiful work. I was so moved and inspired by the work that both of you did. So can you talk a little bit about the process and what it was like to to have this opportunity and just what the experience was like, both working with Heidi and working with each other. Maybe Armando, we'll start with you.
Um, yes, collaboration for me is kind of a key word on this process. Heidi offered me that since the beginning. And now I know it's maybe because she didn't felt so confident working with actors, but that gives us kind of a friendship sense in between the two of us. Yeah, we were collaborating all the time. And with Christian, it was amazing because we didn't fully understand what Heidi wanted from us all the time. And that's a good thing because you have to work with your trust. You have to trust her, and you have to trust her artistic instinct in a way in order to do whatever she asks you to do. So Christian and I, we just complement each other on being together in these crazy things Heidi asking for us. And then there was this moment where Heidi we were shooting a romantic scene, a kissing scene. It was one of our first days shooting, and we didn't know each other that well, and we started doing it like in a more violent way. We were acting more manly, more violent. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't happening. It was kind of weird for everybody. And after a few takes, Heidi take us away and ask us to do it more in a softer way. Like she asked us to do it for women. She said, try or think on how women will like to see this scene. And for me, that direction guide us through the whole process because she wants us to portray the romantic vibe of this couple. And yeah, I guess that supports the idea of our characters being so empathic with the audience and with their real story and their real dreams, not only with the gay moment on their lives or the gay part of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that day, and I remember that it was getting really hot really fast, and we were something we were trying to creep into it because you were in, head out of those father's house, it's in the attic. So I remember saying, let's do it also in slow motion. I remember often asking you guys to slow everything down in the whole film. And that way we were able to get a lot more reactions and a lot more tension when we did things very slowly. And I remember in rehearsal, we slowed it down. And that I think helped a lot with building some of the tension that you find in the film between the two of you. That was one thing I remember we worked on a lot.
Yeah, Christian, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in terms of, also I'm interested in how closely you worked from the script that Heidi had written from the screenplay, and then was there a sense of improvisation while you were filming, and if so, how much of that found its way into the story?
Yeah, I can speak Spanish because I feel more
Sure.
Todo el tiempo fue una experiencia desde el casting. Heidi, no vamos a dejar mentir, desde el callback fue una experiencia como de todo el corazón, porque cuando yo leí las escenas dije, yo quiero estar en este proyecto, necesito darle voz a este personaje. Después corro con la sorpresa de que estos dos personajes, Iván y Gerardo, pues existen, son unos personajes reales, entonces había que darle todo el corazón. Y sobre todo abordarlo desde el lado humano, no tanto desde el juicio. No son unos inmigrantes, no, son humanos y que van más allá y rompen fronteras, el deseo y todo lo que tienen que dejar atrás para sacrificar, ¿no? En este caso, dejar una familia, sueños, demás, para ir a buscar otros. Es como un volver a nacer. Mi primer acercamiento con el guión fue una manera maravillosa porque era retratar algo que está ahí, ¿no? Y como siempre decimos, la realidad siempre termina superando la ficción. Entonces, en este caso era llegar de la mejor manera. Siempre uno siendo actores, siempre hay una curiosidad todo el tiempo constante de querer saber qué es lo que vas a retratar, en este caso un Iván y un real Gerardo, ¿no? Heidi siempre nos pone un alto de, por favor, no busquen nada de ellos, porque yo lo que quiero, o más bien yo lo que he encontrado de ustedes, es una esencia que ellos tienen. Y bien dicho, porque pues Iván y Gerardo reales hoy en día tienen 40 y tantos años y tenemos que retratar como esa nostalgia o ese recuerdo. Entonces, sí es cierto, una persona no es la misma 10 años después o 10 años atrás. Entonces, era justo jugar con nuestra esencia, eso que había encontrado Heidi, y jugar, 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 jugar. Entonces, creo que todo el tiempo fue algo maravilloso porque tanto con Heidi y yo con Armando, que también fue un proyecto hermoso en todos los sentidos, desde la creación hasta lo que llegamos al final, era jugar y proponer y dejarnos ir y confiar todo el tiempo en Heidi y Heidi en nosotros. Había momentos donde Heidi nos decía, así siempre se trabaja en el cine, o siempre hacemos esto. Yo decía, no, pero qué bonito, porque era encontrar muchos caminos para llegar a un solo objetivo. Entonces creo que eso fue lo hermoso de este proceso y de este proyecto. Y creo que siempre voy a estar agradecido porque la verdad es que yo siempre lo he dicho, esta historia de Iván y Gerardo es como un Romeo y Julieta actual, por todo lo que conlleva, por todo ese amor que yo siento y estoy totalmente fiel y lo firmo en cualquier lado. Creo que el amor cuando se manifiesta de esa manera, creo que el amor lo puede todo y creo que es muy claro lo que se ve reflejado en I Carry You With Me. Entonces, creo que más bien fue un acercamiento no tanto con un guión, sino con una historia real que la verdad yo quisiera que el día de mañana me sucediera eso por la complicidad, por todo lo que dejaron atrás y por todo lo que han logrado. Entonces creo que I Carry You With Me es de las mejores cosas que me ha pasado en mi vida. Entonces creo que fue una experiencia maravillosa de principio a fin. Sí. Thank you so much, Heidi.
So I'll just do a summary there. It'll be subtitled. The casting, he said, yes, the casting was really super full of life. And I had read the script and I said, I have to be in this movie because I want so badly to bring this person, Gerardo, to life. And then I understood, I was told, I realized that these were real people. And so that fact that I was playing a real person really made it more high stakes, that I would have to work that much harder because this was a living person I was bringing to life. I also wanted to make the film because this is not about immigrants. This is about human beings with hopes and dreams and families and wishes. And it's not just an immigrant narrative. And so I really wanted to be in this film. I also, when I understood it was a true story, I realized it's true that reality is always superior to fiction in so many different ways when you tell the true story. And Heidi did not want us to meet the real Ivan and Gerardo or talk to them at all. She didn't want us to do an imitation of them. She just wanted to find actors who had the essence of these two men. She was looking for the essence, not an imitation. And every time we showed up at the set, she wanted us to play. So we would go from the script, but we would also improvise at times. And I showed up at work and I was like, we're going to play today, right? We're going to play. And Heidi would let us go here and just let ourselves go and try different things and different takes. At one time she turned to us and said, do you guys normally make movies like this? And they said, no, we don't. We don't make movies like this, but this is awesome and so fun. And I loved the complicity we all had together. And to me, this is a story of true love. It's a real Romeo and Juliet story, and it's the best thing I've ever done with my career. Ay,
Heidi.
Okay.
Heidi, lo escribiste todo.
That's great. That's I appreciate that. I kind of got the sense, even though I don't speak Spanish fluently, I kind of got the sense that that was some of what you were saying. So I appreciate that, and I feel that sense of play, that sense of possibility, and the I think so often as actors, as filmmakers, we can get sometimes rigidly attached to the idea of how something should be or how we want something to be. But rather than that rigid attachment in this film, what I really felt watching it was a sense of the possibility in the unknown, and that all of you together showed up and brought that. And from that came things that you never could have captured if you had tried to plan them. And that was something that I felt really connected to and moved by. I want to talk a little bit about, I think, another thing that you know, Michelle Rodriguez, who does beautiful work, and the cast around you all is really lovely and adds so much dimension to the story. But I think so does the environment and the locations and the places that you capture. And so, Heidi, I wonder if you could talk just a little bit about what it was like. It sounds like you spent a lot of time in Mexico. I don't know if you want to talk a little about your relationship to the place and to people there, but what was it like to bring this story to life in terms of what you wanted to capture in location and environment as well?
Well, world building and environment was so important to this movie. I had spent a lot of time in Mexico, especially over the last, the 6 years before I made the film, because Ivan and Gerardo are unable to travel. The real Ivan and Gerardo are unable to travel home to Mexico. They haven't been home in over 20 years. I would go, and I'd go to the brothers' wedding and the birthday. And so I used to go and spend time with both of their families in Puebla and Mexico City. I would bring gifts back and forth, and I became a little bit part of the family, maybe like a daughter-in-law or a cousin or something. And so I knew the place. Of course, he's a fiction, so it's true to life-ish in terms of, obviously this is a romance where I was looking for dramatic locations, sort of, in the mind's eye of what they had told me. But it was very important to me that we shoot in Puebla, because they met in Puebla. And Puebla is a location that is, you don't see a lot in films. They don't use it as a location that often. 2 hours from Mexico City, but it's world apart. It's a colonial Spanish city. It was a very important part of Mexico at one time, and it's very conservative. It's got the most churches, I think, of any city in Mexico. It is a conservative place, and that was important, to feel Puebla, even for people who hadn't been there. And I was told I could not shoot in Puebla. We had to shoot in a different town, because when I was location scouting, it was dangerous in Puebla, and there had been a lot of crime in Puebla, and we weren't convinced that we could be safe in Puebla, because crime moves around Mexico at different times. And so I was so disappointed. They wanted me to shoot in Querétaro, which is totally different vibe. Anyway, in the end, my Mexican producers said, no, she really has to have Puebla. We got to make Puebla happen. So the government of Puebla worked with us. So I wanted you to feel that colonial, that stately place, but also the crevices that are unvisited, the dark corners, because it's happening in the early 90s, when the gay scene was very clandestine. It was very underground, and these places existed, like Bar Franco existed. It was in a dilapidated mansion, which is no longer there. And the club Jaleos existed in a warehouse, which I visited. It's no longer a club, but these places were on the outskirts of town. So we were trying to show sort of the seat of Puebla, like during the day, like, where Gerardo's teaching and where Ivan's working. But I was very interested in the outskirts at night. And we spent a lot of time working to build that contrast between those two worlds. It was extremely important. Location scouting, again, I'm a first-time narrative filmmaker. In documentary, I'm stuck with a location, because that's where somebody lives, because that's where they ended up. They got on the bus, they went there, I followed them. And we're always trying to make something special and beautiful and unique and strange, but you're just given it. So the ability to be able to scout the location and find just the perfect spot and work with my cinematographer, I'm telling you, it was such a joy, because you get exactly what you want, and you're able to really build the world. And so I didn't want to squander that. And so we looked at, we always just got the perfect spot. And that was such a joy. So, for example, where they meet at Bar Franco, it was an abandoned mansion in Mexico City. No one lives there. And so we went in there, we had to fix the floors, and you could feel the ghosts of the place. And so, we would just have a blast in taking the perfect spot and sort of enhancing the romance, enhancing the mystery. So yeah, that was a really part of that world building that was a.
Yeah, great. For the actors, I find it interesting. It was one of my questions, Christian. You answered it before I asked it, but I was curious as to whether or not you had met the real Ivan and Gerardo, and now knowing you haven't or hadn't when you were making the movie, maybe you have since, and you can talk about that. What were the things about these characters that resonated for you primarily? What was the connection to each of your characters that you felt particularly moved by, or you would consider maybe the foundation of your relationship to the character as you played it? Maybe we'll start with you, Christian.
Creo que fue algo...
¿Entendiste bien la pregunta?
Sí. Okay. Fue justo, creo que la pregunta es lo particular entre Iván y Gerardo para que estén juntos, ¿no? ¿O cuál fue una de las partes curiosas?
No, ¿qué tenían en común? Armando, va.
Sí, ¿con qué te relacionabas tú personalmente y qué crees que te relacionaba más fuerte con el personaje, con Gerardo?
Justo. Creo que lo que tiene Gerardo es una persona con un carácter muy particular. Es mucha chispa, es como todo para adelante, es alguien que todo el tiempo está alegre. Yo no me había dado cuenta de eso. Y lo que podía rescatar del guión era justo eso, como ese ángel que él tiene. Vaya, al momento que los conocimos, yo estaba muy nervioso cuando los conocimos por primera vez en Nueva York, porque veníamos haciendo todo un viaje de contar una historia de estos personajes reales. Entonces yo estaba nervioso cuando los íbamos a conocer. Y había como un cierto respeto también, porque por ellos estábamos haciendo esta historia. Entonces, cuando los conocimos, yo dentro de mí, yo decía, claro, ahora entiendo todo lo que pasa con Gerardo. No hay problema aquí, al contrario, y si hay algún problema, lo vamos a resolver. Creo que la empatía que yo tuve con Gerardo y tanto con Iván es justo ese amor que se tienen ambos y el amor que tienen por vivir y por disfrutar la vida, y más en otro país que no es el suyo y en esta ciudad que es Nueva York, que es muy particular en todos los sentidos, ¿no? Y creo que a pesar de eso y por todo el tiempo que ha pasado y todo lo que han logrado, creo que Gerardo, me imagino que fue el mismo desde hace 20 años que llegó al tiempo que lleva hoy en día en esta ciudad, porque creo que eso es lo que los ha mantenido a flote y lo que los ha mantenido estando allá, justo con este ánimo, con esta actitud a favor. Entonces yo siento lo que a mí me conectó con Gerardo es un poco similar mi historia con ellos, porque yo soy de Guadalajara y llevo 15 años viviendo en la Ciudad de México. Bien o mal es darlo todo por el todo para provocar tus sueños y luchar por tus sueños. En este caso creo que Gerardo me lo demostró muy bien cuando lo conocí en 3 minutos. Dije, claro, ahora entiendo mi personaje, ahora entiendo a lo que le estoy dando voz. Y fue algo muy bonito el conectar de esa manera, porque no necesitamos más que justo ese tiempo y ese espacio para entender todo lo que veníamos haciendo detrás. Creo que a mí lo que me conecta tanto con Iván y Gerardo es justo ese amor que le tienen uno al otro y a la vida, y por las ganas de querer salir adelante. Entonces creo que eso para mí fue una parte importante, porque creo que a donde vayamos, siendo un Iván y Gerardo, creo que siempre tenemos que ir con el corazón por delante, y creo que ellos me lo demostraron muy bien. Entonces creo que en gran parte fue eso para mí, el conocer a Gerardo y a Iván, sobre todo a Gerardo. Ahora entiendo por qué están donde están y de esta manera y estando juntos, porque Gerardo es pura alegría y pura felicidad, y como que si la vida está un poco mal, Gerardo, yo siento que siempre le va a tener una sonrisa a la vida y ¡oh my God! Esa es una frase típica de Gerardo.
Oh my God, Iván, oh my God.
Oh my God, Iván, oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay. He said, he was really nervous to first meet Gerardo. They only met after we'd done the majority of the production when we came to do the New York part. And he was really, really nervous because we'd really done it already. And I had so much respect for them. And when I met him, I realized he's a fixer. He's a doer. We have a lot in common. He's very particular. He's always happy. He doesn't take no for an answer. And I realized in 3 minutes that we're a lot alike, and I understood why I was cast in this role. And I also respect them as a couple, and I understood that we do have a lot in common, because they left Mexico 20 years ago to pursue a dream, not knowing anything. And I personally identify with that, because I left Guadalajara, my own hometown, and my family and everything that I know 15 years ago to move to Mexico City so I could pursue a career in entertainment and acting. And it really took a lot of courage and a lot of desire and ambition to do that. And I have that in common with Gerardo and Iván and Gerardo. So after 3 minutes, I totally understood the whole thing, and why I was right for the role. Also, for me to observe the love between these two people It was love plus ambition that's kept them together. And that was really, really big for me, because I understood that over all of these years, it was Gerardo probably pushing to keep them together and to keep, Ivan and him on this, keep going for their ambitions. And that was really, really big for me. And also, Gerardo's a very, very happy person. And every time I look at him and think of him, he's so, he's got a lot of wonderment for life like I do. And he's always looks at something, he always goes, oh my God, that's like his big thing. And that was the imitation he was doing.
Yeah,
So
great.
that's more or less what you just said.
That's great, great, great. And what about you, Armando?
I, I believe movies work as well as a document for the actor's real life. I can see myself being myself in my characters. I remember myself when I was younger, when I watched one of my films, and I'm still learning what this character um, is going to teach me. But for now, I can tell you that passion. I can. I feel like Ivan and I have the same passion for our job, and by our job I mean for life, or the way we see the life, and we communicate with the world. And he's making all his decisions in this film, in this story, because of his passion, because of the love he has for his son, and the love he has for the food, and the Mexican food and flavors and smells, and like he's passionate about this. And later, for Gerardo, he's so passionate about this love story, and he fights, and he do everything he needs to do in order to achieve the life he wants, and he knows he deserves. And I think we are similar in that way. But it's funny, as Christian said, because I been understanding this only until I watched the film. And now that I know Ivan better, and that I know what Heidi thinks about me and the character, it's like everything is coming down. It's coming together until now, just until now for me.
And I know we're almost at the point of wrapping it up, but I just wanted to ask Heidi, what was the experience of sharing the movie with Ivan and Gerardo? What was their reaction? And yeah, just talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about what that was like, and how they felt about what you all made.
Well, they never wanted to read the screenplay. They never read the screenplay. They weren't part of the casting. They weren't in Mexico when I was shooting. I would keep them abreast of what we were doing. And every now and then I would call Ivan when I was stuck, or Gerardo when I was stuck on a scene that I was shooting the next day. And I would try to get some more inspiration. And so they hadn't seen anything until I think I had a fine cut. I wanted to show them something more polished. And I went to their apartment one night, and on a laptop, which is a terrible way to see a movie. I didn't intend to show them the whole thing. I don't know what I was thinking, like a couple of scenes. And next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and we've watched the whole thing, and everyone's crying, and there's like mezcal everywhere. And we got everybody's crying, and then we got really drunk, and then we went out somewhere else and continued. I mean, it was just like a mess. It was too much. It was too much for them. It was too much for me. It was like years of trust and friendship. And
Mm,
everybody was a mess. So it
mm,
was like a blur.
mm.
So then a couple weeks later, we did it properly at like 4 p.m. in the big screen, like, in a movie theater. And I remember it finished, silence, because it was almost like the first time they'd seen it. And Yvonne left. Yvonne took a walk for like an hour. And I sat with Gerardo, and then we found each other an hour later. And Yvonne was just like, he's like, my whole life. It was just, all of the like, the, the pride and the regret, and the conflict about having gone back to Mexico, and the homesickness. It was very accurate, he said. And so it was hard for him to watch it, because he still has all those feelings. They haven't been resolved in real life. And so It was extremely touching. Not that they've seen it like 100 times since then, and they love it, and they have ownership of the movie, and they love to talk about it and they promote it. And I don't think any of us understood until Sundance how people were going to react, because we're all like living in this, the crew and then the edit, and you don't really know. You go with your gut. This is what I think should be done here. Until it's put to the test, you don't know. So we showed it at Sundance, and all the screenings were sold out and all of that. But it was really the reaction, the people walking us up on the street saying, my father is an immigrant from Iran, and I never knew what he went through. I'm going to call my father right now and thank him. People took different, or these two Mormon kids who were like, we're gay, we're in the closet, we're going to come out to our parents tomorrow. I mean, like things like that were happening. People were taking different things from the movie. The family, the homesickness, what you lose when you attain your dreams, there's a price, all of us. And so all these themes were like really like laser focused. They were like hitting people. Didn't know it would happen, hoped it would happen. And so now we've got this film that we think can touch a broad array of people, and we just have to wait till the plague passes for those people to enjoy it. But I think for all of us, including Yvonne and Gerardo, I think we were all pretty stunned with the reaction of the public so far, and that really kind of motivates us to get it seen.
Well, I love, what you said about this isn't an immigrant story, right? There's something that you've all captured here that is beyond that. I mean, obviously it is partially that, but there's a universality to the experience of watching this movie. And I think no matter what your perspective is on these two characters, these two men in real life, and the choices that they've made, there is this range of resonance that I think different members of the audience will feel. And for me, it really, to me, captures the idea of film independent, the spirit of independent film, and what you've all made, and all of your talent is abundant and really beautiful. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk to you all a little bit about the process and share with audiences a little bit more insight into how you all arrived at something that I think is incredibly impactful and really exciting. So congratulations. I'm really inspired by each of you, and glad for the chance to chat. So thanks for having me. And thanks to everybody who stuck around for the Q&A, and spread the word about this film. I think it's one that deserves to be seen and celebrated. For me, it's a really beautiful piece of cinema, and congratulations, you guys.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to us to have you here for this conversation today. Really love your work. So thanks so much for doing this.
Likewise. Thank you all. Have a great day. Stay safe.
You too.